Make the most out of your time at work
with Karen Gately,
leadership and people management specialist.
Good morning, Karen. Now, when we talk about playing the game at work, we're not talking about Yahtzee or Uno or Scrabble. This is a bit more complicated than that. Do people often talk to you about playing the game?
Yes, and you're correct. It's not Monopoly. It's not any of those things. Really what that's about is what people perceive as the politics or the, dynamics in the organisation that you have to navigate to make sure we've got the right relationships, that we're getting ahead, that we're, being noticed for the right things, etc.
That's right. Now, I'm interested because a lot of people would just say, well, if you want to get noticed, just put your head down and do some good work. But I don't think it's as simple as that, is it?
No, the problem with that is sometimes people aren't observing. They're not actually looking out for the quiet achievers. They're not looking for the people who are head down, as you say, just focused on doing the work and delivering. Now, obviously, great leaders can see people whether they're loud or not, but the reality is that a lot of organisations oil the squeaky wheel or, give attention to where there's attention being drawn to.
Yeah.
So, the challenge for an individual who's quietly just getting ahead with being successful is sometimes, for example, people don't know what your aspirations are. So when an opportunity comes along, it may not be a, obvious fit for you. They just look straight past you because they've never actually had that conversation. So, again, it's not so much about game playing as much as making sure that you are visible.
Yeah.
And able to be considered and able to be chosen when you wanted an opportunity.
I suppose during this period of time as well, people might not necessarily be thinking about climbing the ladder so much as just making yourself indispensable. In that situation where, you do want to make yourself a little bit more of a squeaky wheel, how do you be your own champion without looking like a complete brown-noser?
I think that's a great question. I think it's about accepting as a starting point that it's actually okay to point to some of our strengths.
Yeah.
I think we're so coy, but the reality is having a balance between belief and humility is key to our ability to, be able to know when we need to get better, but also clearly having the belief of who we are and what we're gifted at helps us to be able to know that, apply that, share that. So I think, some of the ways that we can highlight our achievements is through our conversations with our boss, talking about what I want to do, what am I striving to be better at, so that when we do actually achieve something we're proud of, we can have a conversation with them that goes along the lines of, I was really pleased I was able to do that because, as you know, I've been working hard on this. So I think it is important, again, to be having those ongoing coaching conversations where you can with your manager at the very least. So
do you think actually approaching that yourself and saying, I would love to sit down with you and sort out some goals and, make something achievable so that when those are met, that's when you get the big tick?
Absolutely. Again, people will often say, well, my boss hasn't invited me to that kind of meeting, my boss isn't really that interested. And look, all of that might be true. In an ideal world, we could sit back and wait for the boss to do their job and to be an effective leader. Or what we do is we create the circumstances that we need for ourselves. So, as you say, starting with, I'd like to set up a regular meeting with you. I'm really keen to make sure that we're communicating on a regular basis, and then in those meetings we're talking about here's some of the things that I've been thinking about, I really want to achieve or I really want to get better at. What are your thoughts? And hopefully by that stage, your boss is at least somewhat engaged because in my experience, most leaders, even if they're pretty ordinary at it, do love a go-getter, someone who's a self-starter, somebody who's actually going to make their life easy, especially if they're a lazy boss, right? If you can make their life easy around helping them to understand what you're focused on, what your deliverables are, and what your learning objectives are, then all they have to do is help you to make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's definitely a better choice than me printing out these certificates for World's Best Employee and hanging them over my desk?
Might work. Depends on how much value they do place, as we were saying before, on humility.
Well, they're pretty ornate certificates, so I think they'd look good.
Well, if that's the case, then yeah, absolutely, let's give us a go.
Excellent. Great advice. Don't print out the certificates. Go talk to your boss if you can. Karen Gately will catch up with you again next Monday for more work tactics.
Thank you.